The air on Vara 9 shimmered with metallic heat, carrying the smell of iron dust and ozone. Beneath the crimson sky, thousands of insectoid citizens gathered in a silent amphitheater carved from obsidian glass. Captain Malik Obasi stood among them, his dark uniform absorbing the heat, the gold trim of the United Terran Federation glinting against the alien sun. He was there as an observer, but his heartbeat betrayed him, steady, heavy, human. He had seen executions before. War made sure of that, yet this one gnawed at him. The condemned was not human, but she was alive, trembling in the grip of armored guards, her luminous skin catching the light like fractured crystal. Her breathing came in sharp, desperate hisses, and in those eyes, wide silver, terrified, Malik saw the unmistakable spark of will. The Vari executioner raised a blade of compressed plasma. The crowd murmured in their clicking tongue. A voice over the speakers announced, "Rebellion dies today, mercy is weakness." Malik clenched his fists. He wasn't supposed to intervene. The UTF was negotiating peace with the Vari Empire after decades of tension. His ship, the Mansa Voyager, had been sent to monitor and report. Nothing more. But as the blade ignited, his mind drifted back to New Kemet, the city of black marble and wind towers where he grew up. He remembered his grandmother's voice, steady like a drumbeat. Justice ain't justice if it bends to fear. He looked again at the alien woman. Her body bore scars like carved symbols. Her wrists were bound with radiant chains. Every instinct screamed to stay still, to follow orders. Yet another instinct, and older, deeper, whispered louder. He whispered, "Not today. Before the story unfolds further, if you believe that courage still matters, that the flame of humanity burns brightest when it stands against cruelty, make sure to subscribe now. This channel is where stories like Malik's remind us what it means to be truly human, even among the stars." A hum vibrated in Malik's wrist console. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Asha Cole, spoke through the comm, her voice crisp with urgency. "Captain, you're tensing up again. Don't do anything rash. UTF eyes are everywhere." He replied softly, "I'm just watching." But his tone betrayed him. Around him, the alien spectators clicked approval as the blade arced toward its victim. Malik's fingers brushed the control embedded beneath his sleeve, a micro-drone activator. One touch could distort the amphitheater's signal field for 10 seconds, long enough. He inhaled, the memory of his mother's hands weaving beads into his hair before his first academy flight crossed his mind. Her whisper, "Remember who you come from." The blade rose. Malik pressed the switch. The amphitheater flickered. The blade dimmed. Gasps rippled through the alien crowd as Malik surged forward. His boots struck the obsidian floor with a sharp echo. He grabbed the captive's arm, pulling her down as the plasma edge cut the air where her neck had been. Guards screeched, wings unfurling in alarm. "Run!" he shouted, though she couldn't understand him. Still, instinct met instinct, survival transcending language. They sprinted through the broken field, past petrified faces and flickering light. "Malik!" Asha's voice boomed in his earpiece. "What the hell are you doing?" "Saving a life," he barked, dragging the alien toward a docking tunnel. "Do you realize what this means?" she yelled. He didn't answer. Not yet. The air around them pulsed with alarms and the sharp sting of ozone. He half-carried, half-pulled the woman into the docking bay, where the Mansa Voyager waited in stealth mode. As the hatch sealed, the world outside erupted with sirens. Malik leaned against the wall, panting. The alien woman stared at him, trembling, eyes wide and shining. He met her gaze and murmured, "You're safe now." "I promise." But deep inside, Malik knew what that promise would cost him. His career, his freedom, maybe even his people's fragile peace. Still, he couldn't regret it. Some lines weren't meant to be obeyed. Outside, the skies of Vara 9 burned red, and the first storm of consequences began to gather. The silence inside the Mansa Voyager felt heavier than the vacuum outside. Malik stood by the medical pod, watching as the alien woman's breathing steadied. Her crystalline skin shimmered faintly under the blue medlights, revealing patterns that pulsed like veins of liquid silver. She was alive, against every rule, every treaty, every logical reason not to be. Lieutenant Asha Cole stormed into the medbay, her short curls damp with sweat, her voice sharp as a blade. "You just kidnapped a political prisoner, Malik. Do you have any idea what you've done?" Malik didn't look up. "I saved her. From lawful execution, on an allied world." He turned then, eyes dark with restrained fire. "Lawful doesn't mean just," Asha exhaled, pacing. "You're going to get us all court-martialed. UTF command will bury us for this." From the doorway, Engineer Darnell Rivers, everyone called him D, leaned in, hands still stained with coolant. "She ain't wrong, Cap. I'm all for saving folks, but this time you picked a fight we can't win. The Vari ain't exactly forgiving." Malik rubbed his temples, his voice softened. "She looked at me like she already knew her death wasn't hers to own." "I couldn't stand there and watch." Asha shook her head. "You always think you can fix everything with heart." "Someone has to try," he said quietly. The ship's AI interrupted, its tone cool and precise. "Captain, external signals are triangulating our location. Vari patrols are scanning for unauthorized departures." "Deactivate the transponder and reroute power to stealth shields," Malik ordered. "We're invisible now." "Confirmed," replied the AI. D whistled low. "Invisible, huh? More like running blind." Asha folded her arms. "And what's the plan when command calls? They're not going to buy silence." Malik looked through the medbay glass. The alien's chest rose and fell slowly, each breath faintly glowing. "Her name," he murmured. "I need to know her name." "She can't even speak our language," Asha said. "You think she'll thank you?" "Maybe not," Malik answered, "but she deserves to live long enough to decide." The hum of the ship filled the pause. The crew's loyalty was unspoken but strained. D finally broke the silence. "Cap, you know I got you, always. But we gotta think. If the Vari put a bounty on us, UTF will hand us over to save face. That's politics." Malik nodded slowly. "Then we don't give them the choice." Asha frowned. "Meaning?" "We disappear. Stay off main routes. Find somewhere quiet until she's strong enough to talk." Asha's tone softened for the first time. "And then what?" "Then we see what story she has to tell." As if on cue, the alien stirred. Her silver eyes opened, unfocused but alert. Malik stepped closer, holding out a hand. She recoiled, the light in her skin flaring with fear. "It's all right," he said gently. "You're safe." She tilted her head, unfamiliar sounds trembling in her throat. A stream of syllables followed, melodic, layered, like wind over glass. The translator implant in Malik's ear buzzed, struggling to pass the alien tones. Finally, a broken whisper emerged through the static. "Why? You stop. Death." Her words were clumsy but clear. Malik hesitated. "Because no one should die for wanting to be free." Her gaze lingered on him, confused but curious. Her lips moved again, a phrase the translator only half caught. "Freedom, forbidden. Queen sees all." Malik frowned. The mention of a queen sparked unease, but he pushed it aside. "Rest now," he said softly. "We'll talk when you're ready." As he turned to leave, Asha's voice followed him. "You just made an enemy out of an empire, Captain." He paused at the doorway, not looking back. "Then let them come. We've faced worse than fear." But even as he said it, Malik knew this was no ordinary rescue. Outside, the stars seemed colder, sharper, and somewhere beyond them, consequences were already in motion. For 2 days, the Mansa Voyager drifted through deep space on silent mode, its engines whispering against the endless dark. Inside, tension had taken root. The alien woman remained under medical observation, her body gradually stabilizing, though she still flinched whenever someone entered the room. Malik spent hours sitting near her pod, a silent sentinel caught between duty and defiance. Her skin was unlike anything he'd ever seen, translucent layers that refracted light into shades of violet and silver. Beneath them, faint patterns pulsed rhythmically, like coded language written in flesh. Malik found himself wondering if she was aware of her own beauty, or if beauty even meant the same thing in her world. Asha entered, tablet in hand, her expression tight. "We've scanned her vitals," Biochemically, she's half organic, half crystalline. The med systems barely understand what's keeping her alive. And Malik, UTF Command keeps pinging us. They're demanding a status report. He didn't turn away from the pod. We're not responding, she sighed. You're pushing this too far. We can't float in the dark forever. She's not just some alien, he said softly. She's a person who risked everything for something bigger than herself. Asha folded her arms. You don't even know what she did. For all we know, she could have blown up a Vari outpost. Malik's eyes narrowed. You think that would make her execution right? Before she could answer, the alien stirred again. Her eyes opened, silver irises glowing faintly. Malik leaned forward. Talaya, she whispered, the word barely audible. Asha blinked. What did she just say? Malik frowned. I think her name. He touched his translator implant. Talaya? Her gaze focused on him, wary but sharp. She nodded once, then whispered something that didn't translate. The device emitted a static pop before rendering a broken sentence. You, not Vahari. Why help? Because I couldn't watch them kill you, Malik replied. Talaya studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she turned away, her voice brittle. Humans, dangerous, always want something, Asha muttered. Smart girl. Malik ignored the jab. Not this time, he said. You don't owe me anything. Talaya's eyes flickered with disbelief. Nothing. Free. Not even breath. The weight of her words settled between them. Malik sensed layers of pain in her tone, the kind born from chains, not battles. He wondered what kind of life she'd lived, what rebellion had marked her for death. Later, Malik returned to his quarters, exhaustion pressing down on him. He activated the old vinyl player he'd brought from New Kemet, a relic his grandmother had guarded through generations. The needle touched the record, and Coltrane's Equinox filled the cabin with deep, haunting notes. When he looked up, Talaya was standing at the door, clutching the frame for balance. The music seemed to draw her in. Malik stood quickly. You shouldn't be up. She tilted her head, listening. Sound alive. He smiled faintly. It's music, jazz, from Earth. Her silver eyes softened as she stepped closer. Feels like memory. It is, he said. Every note is someone remembering who they are. She touched the air as if tracing the melody. My people forgot. Malik's chest tightened. Then maybe this will help you remember. For the first time, her expression shifted. Not quite a smile, but something close. The translator translated her whisper slowly, with pauses. You hear what my people cannot. The words lingered in the air long after she turned away. When Asha entered later, she found Malik still listening to the fading notes. She trusts you, Asha said quietly. I don't know if that's a good thing. Malik stared at the empty doorway. Trust isn't about good or bad. It's about what's left when everything else is gone. Outside, the stars glowed faintly, distant and indifferent. But inside the Mansa Voyager, a fragile understanding had begun, the kind that could change everything. The third day brought the sound Malik had been dreading, the coded pulse of an incoming transmission. UTF Command had finally found them. The Mansa Voyager's comm light blinked like a warning heartbeat. Malik stood on the bridge, jaw tight, while Asha and Dee exchanged anxious glances. Asha broke the silence first. You can't ignore them forever. If we don't answer, they'll send a retrieval team. I know, Malik said quietly. Patch it through. The main console flickered to life, revealing the stern face of Admiral Brooks, head of Fleet Conduct. His skin was dark and smooth, his voice clipped with authority. Captain Obasi, he began, I assume you know why this transmission is happening under emergency clearance. Malik straightened. I can guess, sir. Brooks's eyes hardened. You violated direct UTF protocol. You interfered in a sanctioned execution on Farah 9, a world under diplomatic observation. That's a breach of Treaty Article 47. Malik met his gaze. With respect, Admiral, I witnessed an atrocity. I acted as a human being. You acted as a soldier gone rogue. Asha winced at the words, but Malik didn't flinch. If following orders means watching someone die unjustly, then maybe the orders are wrong. Brooks leaned forward. You're a captain, not a philosopher. Return the alien immediately, or you and your crew will face suspension, trial, and exile from command. Malik's throat tightened. I won't hand her over. Then you're finished. The Admiral's voice dropped into something colder. You think heroism makes you righteous? The Federation exists because we choose law over emotion. Without it, we're just another fractured species burning in our own pride. Before Malik could reply, the feed cut off. The silence that followed was suffocating. Dee let out a low whistle. Well, damn. That's the sound of a career going up in flames. Asha turned to Malik, her tone softer now, edged with worry. You can still fix this, Malik. Bring her back. Say it was a miscommunication. He shook his head slowly. You think I can sell that lie? The whole galaxy saw me pull her from that platform. There's no going back. She rubbed her temples. Then what's your plan? Drift in the void until the air runs out? I don't have a plan yet, Malik admitted. But I know I couldn't live with myself if I did nothing. Asha stared at him, her anger faltering under the weight of his conviction. You always think heart will save you. Sometimes it does, he said. From the medbay, a soft chime echoed, the signal that Talia had woken again. Malik glanced toward the corridor but didn't move. Dee, he said, seal the comm relays. Make sure they can't trace our coordinates. Dee frowned. That means we're cut off completely. Malik nodded. Then we'll rely on each other. As Dee went to work, Asha lingered. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You think empathy's a weapon, but out here it's a liability. Malik finally turned to her. It's both. Depends on who wields it. She held his gaze for a moment longer, then left the bridge. Malik stood alone, the faint hum of the ship filling the space around him. He felt the weight of command pressing against his chest, heavier than any battlefield armor. Somewhere deep down he knew Admiral Brooks was right about one thing. His defiance had ignited something far larger than himself. He looked out the viewport at the endless dark, where stars pulsed like ancient drums. If the law can't protect the innocent, he murmured, then the law needs to change. In the quiet that followed, Malik could almost hear his grandmother's voice again, the same one that guided him on the streets of New Kemet. When they call you reckless, child, remember, justice always starts with disobedience. And though fear clawed at the edges of his mind, he stood straighter. The chains of protocol might bind his rank, but not his conscience. The Mansa Voyager emerged from warp into the orbit of Zora Station, a human settlement known for sheltering those who slipped through the cracks of the Federation's perfect image. The outpost glimmered faintly against the black, a cluster of domes and solar spires floating above a violet gas giant, its storms swirling like slow fire. Malik stared through the viewport, the familiarity of the station tugging at old memories. He had been here once as a cadet, when Zora was still a dream of independence, built by engineers and visionaries from the African colonies. It was a place that wore its defiance proudly. Docking signal accepted, Dee reported, fingers dancing over the controls. They still remember your access codes. Guess that name of yours still carries some weight. Malik managed a thin smile. Let's hope that's a good thing. Asha crossed her arms. You really think hiding here won't raise questions? Zora's full of traders, mercs, and journalists who'd sell a rumor faster than a breath. Maybe, Malik said, but it's also the only place left that still believes in protecting its own. The ship shuddered as docking clamps locked. Malik turned to Talia, who stood quietly behind them. She had regained some strength, her posture straighter now, her eyes sharper. Her translator device flickered around her neck, a gift from Dee's tinkering. Zora safe? She asked haltingly. As safe as anywhere can be, Malik replied. People here don't answer to the Federation or the Vari. She tilted her head, uncertain. Freedom, like story. He nodded. Exactly like a story. But one we have to keep writing. Inside the station, they were greeted by warm, humid air and the scent of spice and metal. Zora had always been a collision of cultures, murals painted in gold dust, market halls humming with rhythm and laughter, the echoes of drums blending with the pulse of machines. The walls bore names of settlers who had died building the station, carved into copper panels that glowed under soft light. Malik felt grounded here, reminded of everything Earth had taught him about resilience. An old voice broke through the noise. "Captain Malik Obasi." "I never thought I'd see that face again." Malik turned to see Elder Kamau, Zora's port director, a broad-shouldered man whose beard was streaked with silver. His eyes carried the same warmth Malik remembered from his youth. "Elder Kamau," Malik greeted, clasping his hand. "I wouldn't trouble you if it wasn't serious." "Trouble's what keeps this place alive," Kamau said with a low chuckle. Then his eyes landed on Talia, and his humor faded. "That the reason you're running?" Malik nodded. "She's under my protection." Kamau's brow furrowed. "You brought an alien fugitive here, son? You've got half the galaxy watching for her." "I know," Malik said softly, "but I couldn't let her die." The old man studied him for a long moment, then sighed. "You always did carry your ancestors' stubbornness. You've got 24 hours of dock time, no questions asked. After that, you disappear." Malik inclined his head. "That's all I need." As they left the port, Asha whispered, "He just risked the entire station for you." "I'll make sure it's worth the risk," Malik said. In a quiet corner of Zora's inner ring, Dee set up the ship's data rig, scanning star charts. "If we're going to keep running, we need to know where not to be," he said. "I can patch into old UTF relay logs, maybe find gaps they won't look through." Asha leaned over his shoulder. "You mean illegal gaps?" "Same thing," Dee grinned. While they worked, Malik sat beside Talia near a window overlooking the gas giant. Its storms rolled in slow motion, endless and mesmerizing. "Your people built this?" she asked softly. "Yes," Malik replied. "From scraps, from faith, from nothing but the belief that we could make something beautiful on our own terms." Talia's voice grew faint. "Beautiful things and often punished." Malik turned toward her, but she had already looked away, her reflection shimmering against the glass. Somewhere deep in his chest, a knot of unease tightened. For now, they had sanctuary. But in the galaxy beyond Zora's lights, Malik knew shadows were already stretching toward them, and safety was only ever temporary. The hum of Zora Station's life support systems echoed like a heartbeat beneath the metal floors. Malik barely slept. Each passing hour tightened the invisible noose around them. Outside the viewport, the gas giant's clouds swirled in violet storms, a constant reminder of the chaos that followed them across the stars. Talia stood by the same window, her reflection fractured by the glass. She seemed stronger now, her crystalline veins glowing softly in the dim light. "Your world," she said, words still imperfect but clear enough. "You build peace, yet still run." Malik met her gaze. "Peace isn't something you build once. You have to keep fighting for it." She tilted her head. "Fighting for peace." Strange words. "Maybe," he said, "but they're the only kind that ever worked for us." Before he could say more, Asha entered, tension already shaping her voice. "We got a problem, Captain. Zora's outer sensors just picked up a coded transmission. It's Vari encryption." Malik frowned. "They found us." "Not yet," Dee said, appearing behind her with a handheld scanner. "But it's close. The signal's aimed at the outer belt. Whoever's out there is listening or waiting." Malik turned to Talia. "You told me your people's queen sees all. What did you mean by that?" Talia's glow dimmed. For a moment, she seemed to shrink into herself. "Queen Zirath," she said slowly. "She is not born. She is made. My kind, we are shaped from her own cells, each generation cloned from the last. I am her mirror, her rebellion." Asha's eyes widened. "You're telling me you and your queen are genetically identical?" "Yes. Two halves. I was meant to serve as her voice. But I saw truth. She uses our kind as tools, not children. I spoke against her. Malik felt a chill run through him. And she tried to have you executed for it. Talia nodded. She fears me. Not for power, for what I remember. There were others before me who tried to break her rule, each erased from memory. I am the last copy that still dreams of freedom. Dee rubbed his jaw. So she's basically trying to kill her own reflection. Yes, Talia said. To kill rebellion, she must kill herself. The words hung heavy in the air. Malik's mind churned. A clone, a queen, an empire terrified of its own creation. It wasn't just political, it was personal. Asher exhaled slowly. You realize what this means, Malik. You didn't just rescue a prisoner. You rescued the one thing that can tear their entire hierarchy apart. Malik's jaw tightened. And that's why she'll never stop coming. Talia looked at him then, really looked at him. You risked your life for me, human. Why? He hesitated, searching for the right words. Because I know what it means to have your history rewritten. My ancestors were enslaved once. They fought to be seen as people again. I can't watch someone else be erased for wanting the same. Something flickered in her expression, pain mixed with understanding. Then we are both descendants of chains. Dee interrupted softly. Captain, we can't stay here much longer. Kamau's starting to sweat. Fiery ships get any closer, and Zora's gonna lose its neutral status. Malik nodded. Prep the ship. We leave within the hour. As Dee left to ready the engines, Asher lingered. You're really going to take her deeper into Vhari space, aren't you? I have to, Malik said. If her queen's hunting her, there's a reason, and I need to know what that reason is. Asher's voice dropped. That reason might get us all killed. Maybe, he said, but if we run from every fight that matters, we'll never stop running. Outside, lightning rolled across the gas giant like a living pulse. Malik watched it flare, then fade. The storm was calling, and he was already answering. The Mansa Voyager didn't make it far. Barely 3 systems beyond Zora's orbit, a piercing alarm shattered the quiet. Asher's voice cut through the noise. Incoming vessels. 5 signatures, Vhari configuration. They've got us boxed. Dee cursed under his breath. They were waiting. Someone on Zora must have tipped them off. Malik's eyes hardened. Raise shields. Keep weapons cold. No one fires unless I say. Talia stood near the bridge console, her glow dimming with dread. They come for me, she whispered. The comm crackled. A voice, sharp and layered like metal scraping glass, filled the ship. Terran vessel, this is Commander Arvash of the Vhari Empire. You will power down immediately and surrender the fugitive known as Talia of the Broken Line. Failure to comply will result in your disintegration. Asher glanced at Malik. They're serious. He didn't flinch. We don't comply. Dee muttered, You sure about this? They're packing a cruiser out there. Malik's voice was calm. We don't fight. We survive. Moments later, the ship shuddered, not from weapons fire, but from a targeted EMP surge. The power flickered, lights dimmed, and the AI's voice dissolved into static. They're disabling us, Asher said, slamming her fist on the console. Malik turned to Talia. If they take us, what happens? She met his gaze with quiet resignation. You will stand before the Queen and she will decide if mercy is still a word in her tongue. Malik didn't answer. The deck tilted as grappling fields latched onto the ship. In less than a minute, the Mansa Voyager was dragged into the yawning hangar of a Vhari dreadnought, a metallic cathedral filled with the hum of alien technology. When the outer doors opened, Malik and his crew were surrounded by guards. The Vhari were taller than humans, their segmented armor reflecting light like obsidian scales. The commander Ravash approached, his voice low and resonant. You, human, you will walk. The Queen has summoned you. Asher hissed under her breath. That doesn't sound like an execution order. Malik gave her a steady look. No, it sounds like curiosity. They were led through a labyrinth of corridors lined with mirrored panels. The air was cold and sterile, filled with the faint buzz of energy conduits. Malik caught glimpses of distorted reflections, 1,000 versions of himself, each staring back with different expressions. Finally, the doors to the Court of Mirrors parted. It was vast, an expanse of glass and crystal, where every surface reflected the others until the space seemed infinite. At its center stood a throne grown from living crystal, pulsing faintly like a heart. Upon it sat Queen Sirath, her form tall and regal, her body a symphony of iridescent hues. She was beautiful and terrible, her silver eyes identical to Talia's. Malik felt Talia stiffen beside him. The resemblance was haunting. Two faces carved from the same mold, one hardened by power, the other scarred by pain. The Queen's voice filled the hall, melodic yet sharp. "So this is the human who defied my judgment. You risked your empire's wrath for a creature not your own. Tell me why." Malik's voice carried evenly across the chamber. "Because justice doesn't wear a species." A murmur rippled through the alien courtiers. The Queen tilted her head, studying him. "You speak boldly for someone who stands in chains." Malik's wrists were bound, but his gaze didn't waver. "Chains don't change truth." Sirath rose slowly, each movement deliberate, her crystalline gown chiming softly. "You speak of truth. Yet your species," she gestured lightly, "thrives on conquest and contradiction. Why should I believe you are any different?" "Because I chose compassion when your kind chose cruelty," Malik said. A long silence followed. The Queen's expression softened, or perhaps sharpened, into intrigue. She stepped closer until she stood before him. "Perhaps I misjudged your kind. Perhaps there is our potential." She turned her eyes to Talia. "My sister copy still breathes because of you, human. For that, you have earned my attention." Malik's stomach twisted. Attention could mean anything, and rarely meant mercy. The Queen's final words echoed through the hall. "You will not die today. Not until I decide what to do with a man who breaks empires with empathy." Hours passed beneath the mirrored vault of the Fari Palace. Malik sat inside a containment chamber that shimmered like liquid glass, its walls distorting every reflection. Talia had been taken elsewhere. The guards refused to say where. He tried not to imagine what the Queen might be doing with her. The silence pressed on him until he could almost hear his pulse. When the door finally opened, it wasn't a guard who entered. It was Queen Sirath herself. She moved with the slow grace of authority, the soft chime of crystal following every step. Her silver eyes glowed faintly as she regarded him. "You are restless, Captain Obasi," she said. "Human minds do not endure confinement well." Malik straightened. "Freedom isn't something you learn to live without." She smiled faintly, as though the idea amused her. "Freedom, a word your species loves to repeat. You fight your wars for it. You destroy your own worlds for it. Yet here you stand, trapped, because you chose to save one who wished to destroy me." "Talia only wanted her people to choose their own future," he replied. "That shouldn't be rebellion." "Choice breeds chaos," Sirath said softly. "An empire cannot survive it. You humans are young enough to mistake it for virtue." Malik's voice stayed steady. "Then maybe youth is what your empire needs." The Queen studied him, her gaze almost tender. "You speak as though you understand power, but your courage smells of something else. Loneliness, perhaps?" He frowned. "I don't know what you think you see." "Oh, I see much," she said, circling him slowly. "You carry the weight of ancestors who clawed their way from oppression, and you build your identity from their struggle. Admirable. But tell me, Malik Obasi, what will you leave behind?" Her words struck deeper than he expected. He thought of New Kemet, of murals painted in the dust, of children learning songs about freedom. "Legacy doesn't come from conquest," he said. "It comes from compassion." Sirath stopped before him. "Then perhaps you will understand my offer." He stiffened. "Offer?" The Queen raised a hand, and the chamber walls dissolved, leaving them surrounded by endless mirrors. Reflections of both flickered across the crystalline floor. Two figures, two species, bound by something neither yet named. "In my world," she said, "the royal line is sustained through the merging of chosen genetic threads. My people are grown, not born, but our seed has stagnated. Our kind weakens with every cycle. We need renewal. Malik's breath slowed. Renewal? What are you saying? I am offering unity, she said. Your biology is resilient, adaptive beyond logic. You faced extinction and rose again. Humanity thrives on pain. I want that strength for my lineage. He stared at her. You want my DNA? Her eyes gleamed. I want you. To bear heirs that unite human endurance and Vari precision. You would be honored, remembered as the bridge between our kinds. Malik stepped back. You're talking about breeding a legacy out of conquest. She tilted her head, unbothered. I call it evolution. He shook his head slowly. And what about Talaya, the one you tried to kill, your own twin? You think creating hybrids will wash that blood away? The Queen's expression barely changed, but her tone cooled. She is a fracture in the mirror, a flaw that must be contained. You, however, are the reflection I could keep. Malik's pulse quickened. I didn't come here to be part of your empire. I came because I couldn't let a life end unjustly. Yet here you stand, Zirath said softly, in the heart of my empire, alive, because I chose to spare you. He met her gaze with quiet defiance. Maybe you spared me because you saw something you can't control. Her lips curved into something between a smile and a threat. Control is an illusion, Captain. Influence is eternal. Before he could respond, 2 guards entered, their armor reflecting her glow. She turned away. Think carefully before you refuse. Empires have fallen for lesser pride than yours. As she walked out, Malik felt the weight of her words settle on him like gravity. It wasn't just power she sought. It was possession. And deep within, he knew that whatever decision came next would change more than his fate. Malik didn't sleep. The Queen's words replayed in his mind like a fevered rhythm. I want you. To bear heirs that unite our kinds. He paced the confines of his quarters, torn between duty, disbelief, and a faint unease that dug deep into his bones. The room pulsed faintly with crystalline light, alive with a hum that seemed to echo his heartbeat. He felt trapped inside a jewel, brilliant and suffocating. When the door slid open, Asha and Dee entered under guard escort, their faces pale with restrained anger. We just got the news, Asha said. The Queen made her offer. Malik exhaled slowly. So it's already spreading? Spreading, Dee barked. Man, the whole court's buzzing. They're saying she's going to bind the Empire to humanity through you. Half of her ministers want you dead before it happens. Asha's tone was quieter, sharper. And the other half think you're some kind of chosen savior. This is madness, Malik. You have to turn her down before this spirals out of control. I already did, he said. Then why are we still breathing? Asha demanded. Malik's gaze drifted toward the mirrored walls. Because she doesn't want obedience. She wants to be understood. And she thinks I'm the key to that, Asha scoffed. You're not her prophet, you're leverage. She's using you to legitimize her rule. He met her eyes. You think I don't know that? Dee rubbed the back of his neck. So what's the play, Cap? You planning on talking your way out of a genetic merger? Before Malik could answer, the door slid open again, and Talaya entered, flanked by silent guards. She looked different now, dressed in ceremonial silver cloth that shimmered with faint light. Her posture was rigid, her expression unreadable. Talaya, Malik said softly, stepping forward. Do not, she interrupted, her voice low and trembling. Speak my name so freely. Here it belongs to her. Malik frowned. What did she do to you? She reminded me of what I was made for, Talaya said bitterly. To serve, to obey, to kneel before the mirror that created me. Her eyes met his. And now she thinks you will take my place. Asha stared at her. You're saying the Queen's serious about this heir thing? Talaya nodded. She believes mixing her line with human blood will make her eternal, but she fears me more than she desires him. Malik felt the words hit like cold steel. I didn't ask for this. No one asks to be chosen by a tyrant, Talaya said. But choice doesn't matter in her court. It never did. Silence stretched between them. Dee finally broke it. If we stay, we're done. If we run, they'll hunt us. Either way, she wins. Malik's voice was quiet. Not if we change the game. Asha frowned. You're not seriously considering, he cut her off. I'm considering survival and finding out why she needs this so desperately. There's something she's not saying. Talia took a step closer, her silver eyes burning. You think you can reason with her? You think compassion can unmake chains forged over centuries? I don't know, Malik said. But it's all I have left. For the first time, Talia's voice softened. You carry too much hope for one man. Hope's all that ever kept us alive, he replied. Asha looked away, her jaw tightening. Just remember, Malik, if you fall too deep into her web, we might not be able to pull you out. He gave a faint, weary smile. Then don't let go. The guards motioned for Talia to leave. She hesitated, then whispered something only he could hear. If she binds you to her, you will not only carry her blood, you will carry her curse. When she was gone, Malik stood in the quiet, feeling the truth of her words settle like lead in his chest. The Queen's offer was no longer a proposal. It was a noose woven from the weight of blood, his, hers, and the histories they both carried. Whispers spread through the court of mirrors like smoke, tales of the human captain chosen by the Queen herself. Malik could feel the weight of every gaze that followed him through the palace corridors, each one burning with suspicion or fear. Guards stiffened when he passed. Courtiers leaned close to whisper rumors. Some called him the Queen's consort, others the symbiont. Either way, he had become the most dangerous man in the Vari Empire, not because of power, but because of what he represented. Doubt. Asha met him in the private quarters assigned to the crew. Her tone was sharp. They think you said yes. I didn't, Malik replied, voice low. Doesn't matter. Belief's stronger than truth here. Every rumor that spreads gives her more control. Dee was hunched over a small holographic terminal, eyes flicking between lines of alien code. I've been digging through their systems, Cap. You won't like what I found. Malik stepped closer. Show me. Dee tapped a sequence and an image flickered, a network map of glowing nodes. These aren't just surveillance grids, they're memory filters. The Queen's been rewriting entire histories, deleting rebellions, changing records, even altering birth logs. The Empire doesn't just obey her, it forgets the moments it ever resisted. Asha's eyes widened. That's how she controls them. Dee nodded. Yeah. They think loyalty's their nature, because the past's been scrubbed clean. Malik's chest tightened. And Talia was one of the few who remembered. Exactly, Dee said. And get this, these nodes aren't just in her palace. They're networked across her entire fleet. If someone could upload a corruption file into the central system, it'd cascade through every archive they've got. Everyone would remember. Asha's tone darkened. You're talking about detonating an empire with truth. Truth's the only weapon she can't predict, Malik said quietly. Dee frowned. It's risky, Cap. You'd have to use one of their ceremonial conduits, the ones tied to the Queen's neural network. You'd need access during a royal event. Malik's mind began to turn. She mentioned a convergence ritual. Some kind of genetic unity ceremony. Asha's eyes narrowed. You can't be thinking, I am, he said. If I play the role she expects, I can reach the core of her system. We upload Talia's memories there. Once the Empire sees what she's done, they'll decide for themselves what kind of ruler she is. Dee let out a low whistle. Man, that's bold even for you. Asha shook her head. It's suicidal. One wrong move and you'll be another erased name. Malik met her gaze, steady but weary. Maybe, but if we don't act, she keeps erasing people like Talia until no one remembers freedom ever existed. The silence stretched heavy until Dee muttered, Guess rebellion's in our blood. Malik's mouth curved faintly. Then let's make it count. Later, Talia was brought to him under guard. Her expression was wary. They say you accepted, she said flatly. Malik took a step closer. Let them think that. The more she believes I'm hers, the more freedom we'll have to move. You plan to betray her, Talia said, eyes narrowing. I plan to free your people, he answered. But I can't do it without you. Talia studied him for a long, silent moment. Then her voice softened, almost fragile. When the truth comes, it will not be gentle. Malik nodded. Neither was our history. She handed him a small, crystalline shard. This holds the last record of the first rebellion, the one she erased. Upload it into her system. It will awaken the memory in every mind linked to the network. He accepted it carefully. Then it settled. Talia met his eyes, the faintest glimmer of something, trust or maybe sorrow, crossing her face. Do not fail, human. Our ghosts have waited too long for remembrance. As she left, Malik turned the shard in his hand, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. Somewhere deep in the mirrored halls, he could already hear the future cracking, the first faint sound of an empire beginning to remember. The day of the convergence came like a storm. No one could stop. The Vari palace pulsed with energy, its mirrored walls reflecting 1,000 shades of blue and silver. The entire empire was watching. Every broadcast channel, every neural feed tuned to the event that promised a new era. Malik stood at the center of it, his pulse steady despite the chaos inside him. He wore ceremonial garments crafted from woven metallic fibers that caught the light like flame. Asha had helped adjust the fittings, her hands trembling as she whispered, "This is madness, Malik." "You know that, right?" He gave her a faint smile. "It's only madness if it fails." Dee's voice came through the earpiece, hushed but urgent. "I've synchronized the shard's data with your neural implant. Once you make physical contact with her convergence nexus, the upload starts automatically. After that, we'll have about 30 seconds before they realize what's happening." 30 seconds, Malik repeated quietly. "That's not much time." "Then make them count," Dee said. Talia appeared beside him, her crystalline glow subdued beneath a cloak. She carried herself with the solemnity of someone walking into both ceremony and war. Her voice was calm but edged with emotion. "If this fails, my people will vanish from history forever." Malik looked at her. "Then we don't fail." The massive doors to the throne chamber opened, revealing a hall so vast it felt like the inside of a star. The queen waited on her elevated platform, radiant in translucent armor, that refracted light into ribbons across the floor. The courtiers stood in silence, thousands of eyes reflecting her brilliance. "Captain Malik Obasi," she announced, her tone both regal and intimate. "You stand before the convergence, the sacred joining of blood and legacy. Do you accept this unity, offered by the throne of the Vari?" Malik bowed his head, his voice steady. "I accept." The room exhaled as one. The queen descended from her throne, extending a hand that glowed faintly. Embedded within her palm was the convergence core, a crystalline interface alive with pulsing light. "Then our essences shall merge," she said, "and from our joining, a new future shall rise." Malik took her hand. The moment their skin met, the core flared, and in that burst of light, Dee's voice cracked through the comm. "Upload initiated. You're live, Cap." Data surged through Malik's implant, the shard's code racing through the queen's neural lattice. He could feel it, a vibration beneath the skin, a flood of alien memory. Images burst across his mind, cities burning under her command, children erased from records, rebels turned into ghosts. He gritted his teeth, forcing himself to hold the connection. The queen's expression shifted. "What are you doing?" "Giving them back their past," Malik whispered. The chamber lights flickered. Courtiers gasped as holographic streams erupted around them, fragments of forbidden history. The air filled with voices long silenced, rebels shouting, mothers crying, songs once banned. The queen staggered, her grip tightening painfully around Malik's hand. "Stop this," she hissed. "You think they will thank you for breaking the illusion?" "They will tear themselves apart. Then they'll finally be free," he said. Her glow flared violently, and for a heartbeat, Malik thought she would crush him. But instead, her eyes widened in shock as the neural network turned against her, feeding her the pain and memories she had erased. She saw herself, 1,000 lifetimes of tyranny condensed into one unbearable reflection. The mirrors around the chamber began to crack. Cries of confusion echoed as the courtiers backed away, their own memories flooding in. The Empire's perfect order was unraveling. Dee's voice shouted through static, "It's done! Pull out, Cap!" Malik tried to step back, but the Queen still held his hand. Her voice trembled. "You don't understand what you've unleashed." "Maybe not," he said, "but neither did you." The final surge hit. The mirrors shattered completely, and the sound of truth filled the air like thunder. Malik tore free, gasping, his mind still burning from the flood of memory. And in that instant, the world of the Vari began to remember itself. The first thing Malik noticed was the silence, not peace but the hollow quiet that follows something breaking. Shattered mirrors littered the floor like ice, each one reflecting chaos from a different angle. The Queen stood amid the wreckage, trembling, her silver eyes wide with disbelief. Around her, courtiers clutched their heads, screaming as centuries of erased memories poured back into their minds. Asher's voice crackled in Malik's earpiece. "Malik, what's happening? We're reading massive data surges across every Vari network." He steadied himself against a broken column. "It worked, they're remembering." "Yeah, well," Dee's voice cut in. "So are their defense systems. You got ships spinning up all over the capital. We need to move, like now." Malik's vision swam, the lingering aftershock of the upload burning behind his eyes. He looked at the Queen, her once perfect posture faltering as her people's cries filled the air. "You built your throne on lies," he said hoarsely. "Now you're hearing them scream." Her voice broke through the noise, softer than he expected. "You think you've freed them. You've only unchained their rage. You cannot control what comes next." "Freedom isn't about control," Malik said. She staggered, clutching her head. "I feel them. Every mind, every memory returning. The pain. It's endless." Talia appeared through the dust, guards fleeing before her. She carried herself not as a fugitive now, but as something reborn. When her eyes met Malik's, there was no fear left in them, only purpose. "It's begun," she said. "The people are rising. Across the cities, workers are breaking their bonds. The soldiers are refusing orders." Dee's voice returned. "Cap, they've locked onto your biosignature. You've got maybe 2 minutes before the guards flood that hall." Malik turned to Talia. "We need to get out. Can you reach the others?" "I can," she said, glancing toward the Queen. "But not all of us will escape." The Queen lifted her gaze to Malik. "You could have been the bridge between us. Now you've burned it to ash." He took a breath. "Then maybe something better can grow from the ashes." Asher's voice sharpened through the comm. "Malik, I swear if you die in there, I'm haunting you through every nebula." He smiled faintly. "Copy that." As they made for the exit, the ground trembled beneath them. Distant explosions rippled through the palace as Vari soldiers turned their weapons on their own command posts. The Empire's perfect hierarchy was fracturing in real time. Talia paused at the edge of the chamber, turning back toward her creator. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but grief. "You once said I was your reflection. Now look, you're the one fading." The Queen stared at her, voice raw. "You think rebellion will save them? It will devour you all." Talia's expression softened. "Maybe. But at least it will be our choice." Malik touched her shoulder. "We're out of time." Together they sprinted through the collapsing corridors, glass raining from above. Malik's lungs burned, his muscles screaming, but adrenaline kept him moving. He could hear the roar of engines outside, the Mansa Voyager waiting, its familiar hum like the sound of home. "Docking clamps disengaged," Dee shouted over the comm. "Get your heroic behinds on board." As they reached the hangar, Talia stopped short, turning back toward the throne chamber one last time. Malik caught the look in her eyes, sorrow and resolve intertwined. "She's still my sister," she said quietly. "Even monsters come from the same seed." Malik nodded. "Then let's make sure her empire dies, not her memory." They boarded the ship as flames consumed the palace. The engines roared and the Mansa Voyager lifted free, cutting through smoke and fractured light. Below, the once immortal capital burned, not with destruction but with awakening. Dee's voice trembled with awe. "Cap, you actually did it." You broke an empire. Malik stared out the viewport, watching the shattered planet recede into darkness. No, he said softly. They did. All I did was remind them who they were. Outside, the stars pulsed brighter than he remembered, each one a reminder that even in collapse, something new was always waiting to rise. The Mansa Voyager tore through the atmosphere, its engines screaming against the drag of burning air. Malik gripped the console, eyes locked on the rising horizon. Behind them, the Vhari capital burned, a fractured jewel bleeding light into the sky. The ship shuddered as debris from orbital battles streaked past, glowing like dying comets. Asher's voice cut through the chaos. Multiple hostiles incoming. 3 interceptors at 6 o'clock, Dee cursed. They're faster than us. I can't shake 'em unless we hit the ion belt, but that'll fry the shields. Then we ride the belt, Malik said. We've faced worse odds, Asher snapped. You keep saying that like it's a comfort. Talia stood near the viewport, watching the flames fade beneath them. Her silver eyes shimmered with something close to sorrow. They will hunt you forever for what you did, she said quietly. Malik's hands moved across the controls. They'd do the same if I hadn't. At least now they'll remember why. The ship rattled violently as plasma fire grazed the hull. Warning lights flared red. Dee's voice cracked with strain. Shields at 40%. Any more of this and we'll be nothing but dust and philosophy. Malik's tone remained calm, almost steady. Trust me, Dee. Aim for the belt. He could feel Asher's glare, even without looking. You better hope your instinct's worth dying for. The Voyager plunged into the ion belt, lightning arcs exploding across its hull. For a heartbeat, the universe became soundless, only the vibration of raw energy tearing through metal. Systems flickered, died, then sputtered back to life. Dee exhaled hard. They lost us. Their sensors can't track through this storm. Asha slumped into her chair, chest heaving. We're alive, barely. Malik looked to Talia. You should rest. Once we clear the belt, we'll find somewhere safe. She shook her head. There is no safety, not for me. My people are awake now, but freedom will cost them everything. You gave them choice, Malik Obasi, but choice cuts deep. He met her gaze, weary but unflinching. Every revolution bleeds before it heals. Her lips parted as if to speak, but the words faltered. She turned away. Her reflection ghosted in the viewport. You speak like one who has lost before. He smiled faintly. Maybe that's why I fight the way I do. Asher broke the silence. Cap, we can't go back to UTF space. Command's already branded you rogue. They'll make an example out of you if they get the chance. I know, Malik said. That's why we go somewhere they can't reach. Dee raised an eyebrow. You're not talking about the border sectors. No, Malik replied. Further, past mapped space. Somewhere no one's written laws yet. Asher stared at him. You really plan to vanish into the dark? Not vanish, he said. Start again. Talia stepped forward, voice low. If you go beyond the stars, I cannot follow. My people need me now. They will rise and they will stumble, but they must learn to walk without chains. Malik's throat tightened. You don't owe me anything. I owe you remembrance, she said softly. The stories of what you did today will reach even the coldest worlds. He hesitated, then offered his hand. She took it, her crystalline fingers cool and light. Thank you, he said. Talia's voice trembled. If our paths cross again, may it be as equals, not savior and saved. The air between them carried the unspoken weight of everything they couldn't say. Dee cleared his throat awkwardly. We're through the belt. Coordinates? Malik turned to the stars beyond the viewport, an expanse untouched, waiting. Anywhere they can't find us. Set course and burn hard. As the Mansa Voyager surged into the black, Malik felt something shift inside him. Not victory, but release. Behind them, an empire fell. Ahead, the unknown stretched infinite and clean. He whispered to himself, barely audible over the hum of engines, freedom's just the start. Months passed in silence and exile. The Mansa Voyager drifted between forgotten star systems, its hull patched from too many close escapes. Malik often stood by the observation deck, staring at the endless sprawl of light that stretched across the void, a reminder of how small and vast humanity could be at once. Zora Station had become their secret anchor, the one place still willing to send encrypted messages to ghosts like them. News arrived in fragments. The Vari Empire fractured, its colonies declaring independence one by one. Some called it chaos, others called it rebirth. Malik didn't know which word fit better. Dee appeared beside him, carrying a datapad smudged with grease. "You should see this," he said. "New Kemet just transmitted an encrypted broadcast. Guess who's in the headlines again?" Malik took the pad. The transmission showed murals across human colonies, massive portraits painted on steel walls. His own likeness stood among stars, hand outstretched toward an alien sun. The inscription beneath it read, "Malik Obasi, the human who freed the sky." He exhaled sharply. "They turned me into a myth," Dee chuckled. "Could be worse." "My grandma used to say myths are just history that survived the noise." Malik's gaze softened, "and sometimes they bury the truth." From behind them, Asha joined the conversation, holding a mug of synthetic coffee. "Still, you gave people something to believe in. That counts for something." He turned to her. "Belief is dangerous when it forgets the cost." She smirked. "How you sound like my mother." Then her tone softened. "You did the right thing, Malik, even if it broke everything else." He didn't respond immediately. His eyes drifted to the viewport where stars shimmered like scattered embers. "Maybe the right thing doesn't need to survive, it just needs to light the way." Asha studied him quietly. "You ever think about going back?" "To what?" he asked. "Command would put me on trial before the ink dried on my report." "Maybe not," she said. "I heard rumors that UTF Command is calling what happened an unofficial humanitarian act. They can't admit it publicly, but they know you changed everything. Some admirals think you might have done what diplomacy never could." Malik let out a dry laugh. "So I'm a convenient legend now." "Legends move people," Asha replied. "You taught them that compassion can be stronger than empire. Don't dismiss that." He fell silent, absorbing her words. The hum of the ship filled the pause like a slow heartbeat. Later, Dee found him alone in the cargo bay, adjusting the navigation core. "We rebuilt her better this time," Dee said proudly. "New shields, upgraded engines. We could outrun anything short of a star." Malik smiled faintly. "She deserves it. This ship's carried more than a crew. It's carried our choices." Dee leaned against the bulkhead. "So what now, Cap? We just keep floating. Deliver aid. Hide from everyone till the end of time." Malik looked at the glowing star maps before him, lines of light connecting distant worlds. "We help where we can," he said. "The galaxy doesn't need another empire. It needs hands willing to build what others break." Dee nodded. "Then I guess we're not done." As he left, Malik lingered, the quiet pressing around him like old memory. He thought of Talia, her calm resolve, the light in her eyes as she chose to stay behind. He wondered if she still lived, if her people had found peace, or if the fires of revolution still burned. A faint transmission icon blinked on the console. Another encrypted message, origin unknown. Malik hesitated, then opened it. It wasn't words this time. It was a sound. Music. A melody that blended alien harmonics with Earth's oldest rhythm, jazz. Malik closed his eyes as the notes filled the room. The tune carried both sorrow and triumph, like a heartbeat that refused to die. He whispered to himself. She remembered. Asha's voice came softly through the intercom. "Captain, you good?" He smiled, eyes still closed. "Yeah." "Just listening." Outside, the stars burned quietly, each one a flicker of the legacy he never meant to leave but somehow did. The melody lingered long after it ended, echoing in the quiet hum of the Mansa Voyager. Malik sat alone in the observation chamber, the faint glow of starlight brushing his face. He replayed the transmission again, letting the rhythm wash over him. The fusion of sound, Earth's jazz and Vari resonance, was unlike anything he had ever heard. It was as if two civilizations had decided to speak to each other, not through words, but through soul. Asher entered softly, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Still listening?" He nodded, accepting one of the cups. "It's from her, Talia." Asher's brow furrowed. "You sure? She encoded her harmonic signature in the lower frequencies. Only she could have done that." Asher leaned against the console, watching him carefully. "What's the message?" He smiled faintly. "That she's alive, that her people are rebuilding, and that the fight's not over, but it's theirs now." They stood in silence for a while, the music playing softly between them. It spoke of survival, of the long arc between suffering and hope. It reminded Malik of the nights on New Kemet, when his grandmother would hum spirituals under the desert stars, songs older than the Federation, older than any empire. "She made it mean something," Asher said quietly. "All of it." Malik nodded. "We all did. Even if we didn't understand it at the time." Dee's voice crackled through the comm. "Captain, we've got incoming transmissions from 6 colonies, human and Vari both. They're reaching out. Trade routes, aid convoys, peace talks. Looks like people finally want to build something together." Asher smiled. "Guess your myth's working." Malik chuckled. "If they're talking instead of fighting, I'll take it." He walked toward the viewport, staring out at the stars. The cosmos stretched vast and unknowable, but for once it didn't feel hostile. It felt alive, like a rhythm waiting to be joined. "Think we'll ever see her again?" Asher asked. Malik hesitated. "Maybe not in person, but in spirit." "She's everywhere now." In every note of that song. The music shifted key, swelling like a sunrise. Malik could almost imagine Talia standing somewhere beneath a silver sky, leading her people through ruins towards something new. 2 worlds, once strangers, now humming the same melody. Dee entered the chamber, grinning. "You two planning to just stare at eternity? Or are we setting a course?" Asher rolled her eyes. "Where to this time, Captain?" Malik turned from the window, his expression calm but resolute. "Forward, always forward." Dee smirked. "That's not a coordinate." "It's the only one that matters," Malik replied. As Dee left, muttering about poetic captains, Asher lingered. "You could go home, you know. UTF would take you back now. You'd be a hero again." He shook his head. "Home isn't a place anymore, Asher. It's what we build wherever we land." She studied him for a moment, then smiled. "Then let's keep building." The ship's engines hummed to life, a deep, steady rhythm that seemed to blend with the final notes of Talia's song. Malik closed his eyes, letting the vibration sink into him. For the first time in a long while he felt peace, not because the war was over, but because he had learned that peace was something you carried, not something you waited for. He opened his eyes again and whispered to the stars, "You hear that, Talia? We're still playing." The stars shimmered back at him, distant but listening. He turned toward the console and spoke clearly, his voice steady and sure. "Asher, bring up the next mission file. Dee, set course for the outer rim. Let's see what stories still need telling." As the Mansa Voyager surged forward, its light carved a new path across the dark. Behind it, 2 worlds sang to each other, a song of pain, of defiance, and of rebirth. And in that endless stretch of space, Malik Obasi carried their harmony onward, the heartbeat of a legacy born from courage and compassion. If Malik's journey reminded you that the strongest empires rise not from power, but from empathy, subscribe now to keep exploring stories where humanity's heart still leads the way. And don't forget to click the video on your screen. The next adventure begins right there.